Imagine standing before the unfinished Cathedral of Santa Maria del Fiore in Florence, 1418. The entire city looks up at that colossal void, 45 meters in diameter, which has remained gaping for half a century, the persistent nightmare of countless architects. The papacy issues a challenge. Who can raise an unprecedented dome at such a height without the aid of scaffolding? Under the collective gaze of the city, a small, gaunt, middle-aged man steps forward. He carries no complex models, only a common egg. With a sharp movement, he cracks the base of the egg upon a stone table, making it stand perfectly upright. In that moment, a deathly silence falls.
His name is Filippo Brunelleschi.
Tonight, by the rhythmic flicker of the hearth and through this narrative meant to be felt rather than merely memorized, let us step into the true odyssey of his life. He was the soul of Florence, the king of the comeback who, after a bitter defeat, went into exile in Rome to excavate secrets lost for a millennium. His life mirrored the dome he designed, a foundation of heavy endurance, a middle of precise calculation, and a pinnacle of timeless elegance. This is a story of meticulous study, of guarding truth in solitude, and of how, beneath that ultimate silence, he raised the skyline of civilization. Brunelleschi's life was forged amidst the sparks of clashing metal and the sting of profound frustration. Originally a goldsmith, his nimble hands sought to etch an eternal name upon the doors of the Florence baptistry. Yet, in the famed competition of 1401 for the gates of paradise, he was eclipsed by the younger Ghiberti. That rejection by the entire city became the first rupture in his destiny. Rather than wallowing in self-pity along the banks of the Arno, he made a choice that baffled all. He went into exile in Rome, vanishing entirely from the mainstream gaze. In that desolate era, Rome was little more than a ruin for grazing sheep, yet Brunelleschi remained there for 15 years. Like a ghost, he wandered daily among the Pantheon, the Colosseum, and nameless shattered walls. Under the midnight starlight, he excavated foundations buried in the earth, using sketches to record how the ancient Romans utilized the interlocking strength of bricks to defy gravity. Local residents called him the treasure hunter, believing he sought gold. In truth, he was unearthing something far more precious, the forgotten sovereignty over space, lost to humanity for 1,000 years. This logic, precipitated in solitude, transformed him from a mere imitative craftsman into a visionary who, in the depths of his soul, was quietly constructing a mathematical universe for the future. When Brunelleschi finally returned to Florence, he brought back more than just architectural drafts. He brought a weapon that would reshape human perception: linear perspective. Standing in the shadow of the baptistry, he used a small mirror with a peephole to demonstrate to the world how parallel lines converge at a distant horizon. In an age where flat painting still dominated the senses, Brunelleschi was like the child pointing at the emperor's new clothes, revealing the stark truth of space. This ultimate precision regained him the attention of the Medici family, particularly the profound Cosimo. Yet, the greatest challenge remained the dome. It was not merely a construction, it was a gamble against gravity itself. Brunelleschi proposed a herringbone bricklaying technique, allowing each brick to support the other during construction, thereby entirely eliminating the need for expensive and impractical wooden scaffolding. Facing the skepticism of officials and the derision of his peers, he exhibited a chilling, almost aggressive composure. He knew that truth required no shouting to be proven, it only needed to silently testify to its own weight with every inch the stone structure rose. As he devised gears and hoisting mechanisms by midnight oil, this cold insight into the essence of physics was his thickest defense. Against a city's distrust. In 1420, the construction of the dome officially commenced. Brunelleschi became a magician walking among the clouds. Every morning, he would scale the stone walls already rising tens of meters high, personally inspecting the moisture and angle of every brick. Within that colossal ring of red brick, he established an exceptionally rigorous world of self-discipline. To prevent workers from wasting time ascending and descending, he went so far as to build temporary canteens and wine cellars inside the dome itself. This obsession with order formed the rugged, profound bedrock of his life. He was not just designing a structure, he was designing human nature, seeking the most efficient rhythm in every movement of the workers. Some called him violent and antisocial, but had you gazed upon his silhouette as he stood at that height overlooking all of Florence, you would have found no arrogance, only a near-religious loyalty to sacred geometry. Walking in the wind, his shadow cast upon the shimmering Arno by the setting sun, he seemed like an ancient Roman soul reborn, restoring dignity to this land. In this state of extreme focus and solitude, Brunelleschi finally attained the pristine liberation of a grand master. In his waning years, Brunelleschi's face had grown skeletal from years of exposure and calculation, yet the fire within his sunken sockets burned with increasing clarity. The dome was capped. That dark red arc became the proudest hallmark of Florence. Watching the very architects who once scorned him now scrambling to imitate his proportions, his eyes held no anger, only the calm realization of one who had seen through the cycles of his craft. He knew the dome would stand for centuries, yet as its dreamer, he chose to shrink himself into a silent symbol. This detachment, seeing through the nature of honor while content to hide his fame, was the bedrock of his composure. In his final journals, he penned his ultimate reflections on mathematics and divinity in prose that was both restrained and philosophical. He described the essence of architecture: it is not the stacking of stones, but the light and shadow that humanity encloses with logic within a silent void. Every twilight in Florence, he would sit on a stone bench opposite the baptistry, gazing at the city where he once failed, now guarded by his dome. There, he was no longer the most powerful engineer in Europe, nor the eccentric feared by political rivals. He was simply Filippo, a speck of dust seeking a home within the rhythm of geometry. This transition from profound damage to supreme fulfillment allowed his life, before its final wither, to radiate a dignity as resilient and clean as marbled. On a morning in 1446, Brunelleschi closed his eyes forever in his studio. When the news swept across Florence, there were no grand elegies. Instead, the city succumbed to an awestruck silence, vast as the space within his dome. He departed with profound quietude, as if simply finalizing a stress analysis accurate to the last millimeter. He had provided the answer to the question posed in the prologue: was the comeback worth it? In truth, the heaviest prize was not the regained fame, but the ultimate loyalty to the order of the universe that remained uncorrupted even through 15 years of exile.
And you, now, do you feel it?
That sense of peace, as solid and stable as the red bricks of the cathedral, reaching across 5 centuries. The smoke of the Renaissance has long since cleared, and the scepters of the Medici have gathered dust. Only Brunelleschi's solitary gamble remains in the deep midnight of history, like a faint lamp that refuses to be extinguished. This is a strength that does not need to roar, the finality of a hermit engineer. Tonight, may you drift into sleep accompanied by the scent of ink from Brunelleschi's blueprints and the steadiness born of his absolute composure. The world has fallen silent. It is time for you to let go of the day's distractions.
Good night.